Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Landbound, written by Selma Lulug, sorry if I mispronounced that, and read by Nicholas Briggs. This is a short trip adventure. It's free on the Big Finish website, so you have no excuse not to listen to this. And it was part of a contest, which I can't remember the name of, but I've talked about a story in this series of contests before, in a story called, I believe it's The Last Day at Work. So check that one out. But today we're going to be talking about Landbound. Now, before I begin, this story was I didn't know where to put this story in the marathon, as the story has three different times of where the Doctor takes place. The first half takes place before the Three Doctors. The second one takes just after the Three Doctors. And then the third one takes after the Green Death. I've decided to put it here because the last moment that we see is set after the Green Death. And I think because that's the earliest point in the Doctor's timeline in the story, I think it counts as that's the moment in his timeline. So, yeah. Oh, I'm not getting a good image there. There you go, that's better, isn't it? So anyway, so this story starts off, we get introduced to a character called Ronald Henderson, and he is he's a kind of like a pub owner. However, he's had a history of working in the Navy, and something has happened to him in the past, and now he's kind of like a shriveled up old man. And when we first see him, he gets introduced to the Doctor, who's just going past in Bessie, in the countryside, and he takes no notice of him and stuff. But later on, he gets mugged by these group of teenagers. One of them tries to take his watch. However, the Doctor comes back and fights them. So it feels like John Pertwee kicking ass. Nicholas Briggs' impression of John Pertwee's Third Doctor, I don't know, I don't think when Nicholas Briggs does his own thing, he's absolutely amazing, but when he tries to do impressions, you can tell he's not an impressionist. And I think, for that case, in my headcanon, despite the story being fantastic, I don't really consider it canon. It doesn't feel like a Third Doctor story, if that makes any sense. Doesn't mean it's a bad story or it's a good story. Canon has nothing to do with quality of stories, but it's just how I feel. But anyway, so the Doctor starts kicking ass, and then he apologizes to Henderson on just dismissing him earlier, and so he takes him to the pub that he works at, and he gets the Doctor a drink and stuff, and I really like the chemistry of these two characters, the Third Doctor and Henderson. They're both people who kind of feel trapped where they are. They're explorers, but they're trapped in one place in one time. And there's some great scenes in which Henderson's talking about the Navy, and the Doctor's basically talking about his situation, that the TARDIS put him there one time in one place, although he doesn't say that. He just says like his superiors took away his ability to use the ship because they felt like he was meddling. That's how he puts it. And you can feel that there's a great connection. These characters can relate to one another. However, Henderson gives away his backstory, which is that when he was in the Navy, his ship was attacked by a transparent giant monster that ate his ship, and nobody believed him. And he tells the Doctor, expecting that he won't believe him, and that he only really just tells him just the thing, and he's kind of learned to live with the fact that he might have been hallucinating, and might have been his fault. But the Doctor is very interested in this creature and basically tries to convince him that it wasn't his fault. This creature does actually exist. And this guy, Hedison, he's like, no, doctor, I've learned to live with it. Just stop talking about it now, okay? I was hallucinating. I understand. I can see what you're trying to do. You're trying to make me feel better, but I don't need to. I've lived with the past. It's okay, doctor. I've given up. And the doctor kind of feels mellowed out. But the doctor then is like, I'm sorry to hear. And then he's like, you've just reminded me I got lots of work back at my job at UNIT. So I'm going to leave you and I'll see you around maybe. And then he's like, okay, ta-ra, bye-bye. And then that ends the first half of the story, which is set before the Three Doctors, in which the Doctor's trapped on Earth. However, like I said, that's only half the story. The second half then, or at least most of the second half, has the Doctor come back to him after he has got the TARDIS working. And he comes up to him, to Hedison, and is like, Ronald, I want you to show you my ship. I've got it working again. I helped them with a bit of trouble, and now they've given me my freedom back. And it starts off all happy and cheerful until Hedison goes outside and doesn't see anything apart from a blue police box just standing there. And then he starts slowly thinking he's mad, and then the Doctor asks him to go inside. And then he realises that it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And we get some funny moments in which the Doctor's explaining that he's like a time traveller. Thinking Hedison is just like, bloody hell, you're more nutter than I am. However, this is not the reason why the Doctor took him in the TARDIS. It wasn't just to show him that he's in the TARDIS. The Doctor takes the TARDIS back in time on the seas to see a ship, specifically Hedison's ship, being attacked by the creature, convincing him that it's a real thing. And the Doctor does this with kind-heartedness and careness, and he does it to basically tell him it wasn't your fault. You know, it's a natural phenomenon. Well, not natural phenomenon. And there's a great scene as well where he's sympathising with the creature, saying the poor chap doesn't know what he was doing. From his point of view, it's just like an iceberg. He didn't know that there was life on it, so he started eating it, not realising there was life. And Hedison's like, how can you forgive that? It killed my men. So there's a lot of great drama in this particular short. And then, just before really the attack really takes place, Hedison then is like, Doctor, I can't forgive you. I can see what you're doing, and I am grateful that you showed me that basically I'm not nuts. But I cannot forgive you for letting me relive this trauma that I had, and to see those men die once more. And the Doctor's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I meant it in good faith. And he's like, I know, and I don't hold anything against you. It's not like I hate you, and I understand why, but I just can't forgive you for putting me in that situation again. And you could hear it in the performance of Nicholas Briggs, how the Doctor, he kind of realises he's kind of not messed up, but seeing the folly of his ways, that he's kind of like, right, I was being a bit unsensitive about his situation and just wanted to prove that he was not mad. So yeah, these short stories, the free ones, are really great. If you like audiobooks, which is just like somebody reading out a story, I highly recommend all of them. At least all of them I've heard. I've heard the second one, the third one, and the seventh one. I haven't heard... Well, wait, I tell a lie. I have heard all four of them. As far as this video's coming out, there's four of them. And they're all just brilliant stories. So do check them out. And this one is no exception. But anyway, so the Doctor then takes him back onto Earth, and they part, they say goodbye, and let bygones be bygones, and they go their separate ways. And then it cuts a year later when the Doctor comes back, this time after the Green Death, So at this point he's lost Joe, and he's kind of like in his own mind, he's kind of like lost in a way. But he heard some great news, so he head back to the village, and he sees Hetterson again, who is now really cheerful, because as he explains, is that after his encounter with the doctor, he realised that it wasn't his fault, and so he went back to the Navy and demanded them to bring back his post. And he said he wouldn't leave until they give him it back. Now, I really like the message in here, you know, that, you know, sometimes things out of your control, you got to just get past it and stuff. But from the Navy's point of view, he's still guilty of it. You know, he's still the one who technically murdered his entire crew. Why would they give it back his ship? I mean, the message is then, it's all about the metaphors and stuff. And the metaphor is still great, and I have no issue with it, really. It's just a fun nitpick. And the doctor's basically said, coming up to him, and said, congratulations. Now that I've been given my freedom, I kind of feel helpless and I don't really know what I'm doing. But I'm glad for you, I'm happy as well. And he kind of learns to forgive the doctor and understands why he did it. I mean, he already knew why he did it, but he learns to forgive him and understand that that the doctor was helping completely and was kind of considerate in a way. And then the story ends with the doctor going out to the TARDIS to go into space, which is kind of funny because our next story, because I don't have any stories between this and the Time Monster, has the doctor back, the Time Warrior, sorry, has the doctor still on Earth. So this ending makes no sense from my point of view. But anyway, I digress. So that's Landbound, a fantastically written story. It's not my favourite of these short free stories. It might be the weakest one, but to hear this, and I hopefully think that this video has demonstrated how much I love this story. That's not a bad thing by any means. That this is one of the weakest of the 4 free short stories. So yeah, there you go. So I hope you enjoyed, and join me next time where the Doctor gets, well, from the TV's perspective, the Doctor gets introduced to one of a fearsome foe that he will have, and he gets introduced to a new companion, and we say hello to Sarah Jane Smith. So join me next time where we will watch The Time Warrior. See you then on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da.